I asked the audience yesterday if the peace lasts, if this agreement holds a year from now, should President Trump receive a Nobel Peace Prize. More than 35,000 people voted, not scientific, but interesting nonetheless. And in round numbers, 75% said no, which I thought was more reflective of Trump derangement syndrome than anything else. I've looked at what Alfred Nobel's will actually says. And character is not expressly stated. It speaks of establishing fraternity among nations. So if he's able to do something that no one else was able to do, if a year from now the peace has held, then he ought to be the recipient of a Nobel Peace Prize. That to me is a no-brainer. And hopefully he'll provide the same level of engagement and lean on Putin and bring about some resolution with Ukraine.
President Obama put out this post talking about the peace deal and the prospects of it, and Don Jr. responded to it. I'll finish it for you. Thank you, Donald Trump. Honestly, it's not unfair to say if President Obama's going to write a whole post about a peace deal, maybe he should acknowledge the president that brokered it.
I want to ask you about other news of day, and that would be what's happening in the Middle East, where a ceasefire is now in effect between Israel and Hamas. All of the living hostages are expected to be returned in the coming days. It is still tenuous, but that is the expectation. How much credit does President Trump deserve for this remarkable agreement?
Well, this does need to end the terrible, terrible tragedy we've seen the last couple of years. It's been awful. Over 60,000 civilians have been killed or are starving right now. This must end. October 7th was a terrible disaster. So the proof is going to be in how this is executed. I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to get done. We need to return the hostages. We need to end the fighting. We need to get food and aid into Gaza so that the Palestinian people stop starving. And we need a solution that allows both parties, Israel and the Palestinians, to have peace, safety, security, and self-determination. And until they both have dignity and the right to exist in security, this will never end. So that's what needs to happen. I don't trust Donald Trump. There's no reason to trust Donald Trump. But I will, of course, work with any administration that wants to achieve those things.
You may not trust Donald Trump, but what has been achieved here so far is something that was not achieved by President Biden, with the potential end of the war and all of the hostages being turned over. So do you give President Trump credit for that?
Well, you know what I don't like? I don't like the fact that nearly 70,000 women and children and civilians have been killed in the last couple of years, right? Do you think that's a success, Pamela? Do you think that that's okay?
Well, I'm certainly not saying that,
evil,
and that was under both administrations, right?
Well, let's not, exactly. And the Biden administration bears responsibility too.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get it next year either. I think the Nobel Committee sent a very clear signal here, two signals actually. One, self-promoting yourself for the Nobel Prize doesn't work, okay? They're not going to be bullied into it. They're not going to be shamed into it. They're going to choose who they want to choose. Two, by choosing the Venezuelan opposition leader, what they signaled is that their values are about promoting people who stand up to tyranny on behalf of democracy, okay? That's not Trump's values. No matter what he wants to say about him making 8 peace deals, which he didn't actually even make, he does not believe that democracy and freedom and human rights promotion are the things that he wants to be about or that America should be about. He's on the other side. And even in Venezuela, he's had a very mixed policy, okay? He's engaging with Maduro, and he's killing fishermen and drug dealers. But none of that has anything to do with democratic aspirations for the people of Venezuela. So the Nobel Committee is saying we support people who are struggling for freedom and democracy and human rights against dictators. That's not Trump. So even next year, Trump's not going to be in line for that. That's my prediction.
Because, for people in Gaza or people who are family members that have people they know in Gaza, a deal's announced and I want to give him a fucking bear hug and say, yeah, I hope this one sticks and like, let's fucking do this thing or whatever. But I know the U.S. and I know Israel.
It's going to be, on one hand, you're going to have things like what's happening in the Middle East. On the other hand, you've got troops on the streets. You've got pastors being pepper sprayed by ICE agents. You've got all this disarray happening at home. And it's so hard for people who want to root for American success to root for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is doing both of these things at the same time.
I agree with everything you just said. It is hard for Democrats to root for America's success because they are so broken by Donald Trump.
Root for Donald
This
Trump.
is the core problem of the Democratic Party. You cannot bring yourself to root for America because Donald Trump is the president.
That's not fair, Scott. That's not what I said. I said precisely the opposite.
He deserves the Nobel Prize. He deserved it before this deal. He deserves it now. He deserved it for hitting Iran. He deserves it for the 8 other peace agreements that he's negotiated. He deserved it for the Abraham Accords. If they don't give it to him next year, it will be a travesty. I would note that the lady who got it this year, who, by the way, deserves it, she dedicated her award to Donald Trump and was thanking Donald Trump and the American people for their support in getting rid of the Venezuelan regime. And so I hope he does get it, because at the end of the day, it will piss off all the right people. And I
actually,
I would be so happy.
Though,
I would be so happy.
I think that this...